Hey guys, today I am making one of my ultimate favorite comfort foods. It is chicken and dumplings from scratch with homemade dumplings. This is a great thing to have on a really cold night or when you are really sick. It's just comforting, delicious, and it's actually super easy and relatively quick. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is some extra virgin olive oil. You are also going to need some fresh celery stalks with the leaves on. And you will also need some carrots, also known as drumsticks. You will also need an onion. I like to use sweet onions, and you don't need a full onion, so if you have a halfer laying around somewhere, you can use that as well. Next on the list is chicken broth. You can also use chicken stock, either boxed or unboxed or homemade. I like to use the boxed variety because then it does not taste like tin can and organic. Also, as well as usual, you are also going to need a bay leaf and a little bit of thyme. Then we have some frozen peas. You can use fresh ones if you want as well. Frozen are just a little bit easier to come by and cheaper. And then I have a full rotisserie chicken. A full chicken. Full rotisserie. So for the dumpling mix, you are going to need 1 egg. Egg. You are also going to need some baking powder. Make sure it is baking powder and not baking soda. You also need some butter. I like to use salted butter. You can use unsalted if you prefer. You are also going to need some milk. I use 1% milk. You can really use any kind of milk that you have, or buttermilk if you prefer. And also some all-purpose flour. And most importantly, you need some salt and pepper to give that sucker some flavor. I use sea salt and fresh ground pepper. So first you are going to take your whole rotisserie chicken and you're going to cut off the legs and the wings. And you are going to put them right into your little bowl of goodness. And then after you cut the legs and wings off, you're going to get all of the meat out of that chicken. You want to destroy that carcass, as much meat as you can possibly get without any bones or fat. Then, once you have the meat, you want to chop the meat up into bite-sized pieces. You don't want giant chunks of meat. About this size is correct. So once you have all of that done, it's going to be about this much chicken in a bowl. Next, you are going to cut 2 carrot sticks and cut them also into bite-sized pieces. And then you are going to cut 2 stalks of celery into the same size pieces. And be sure to cut those leaves in there because they give good flavor. You're going to add your onion, and I only use about 1/3 of an onion because I'm not a huge onion fan. If you like onion more, definitely use more, but don't omit it even if you don't like onions much because they do add really good flavor. And then I'm going to chop up some parsley. I would say about a handful. It's kind of to taste, so whatever your preference is. And then chop it up nice and fine. Make sure the stems are chopped up too if you have any stems in there. So to start, I am going to pour about 2 tablespoons of the olive oil into a pot and heat it over medium heat. And once it is hot, I'm going to add my carrots and my celery and my onions, the mixture all in one. Then I'm going to add about a tablespoon of the dried thyme. You can use fresh if you want, but I'm just going to use dry. And then give it a nice stir to kind of mix it all together. And then just let those vegetables sweat over the heat for a couple of minutes until they start getting soft, probably about 5 minutes. And then you're going to add the chicken. And then you're going to add your chicken stock. This is a 32-ounce box of chicken stock. 32 ounces would be about 4 cups altogether. Now I'm going to add 1 bay leaf. You can add 2 if you like. And then a cup of frozen peas. And after you add those, you're going to give it a good stir to make sure everything is all mixed together. And then you're going to bring it back up to a boil. Also, I'm going to add another half of a cup of water just to kind of dilute it a little so it's not too salty. Now for the dumplings, I'm going to start with 1 egg, and then I'm also going to add a 1/4 cup of milk, and then just beat the eggs with the milk just to make sure they're blended really well. And once that is done, you are going to add 1 cup of your flour and 1.5 teaspoons of your baking powder. Then you're just going to add some of the salt to taste, probably, I don't know, a teaspoon or 2 of salt. And then once that is added, you want to make sure that you mix this really well so that you get all of the salt and baking powder evenly dispersed until it kind of forms a soft dough. Then you're going to take 2 tablespoons of that butter, and I just kind of cut it into smaller pieces, makes it a little easier. And then I take a little pastry blender, and I just kind of blend the butter into the dough until there's kind of chunks of butter in there. Then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of that chopped fresh parsley and then just mix it in there just to make sure that it's well blended. So by now your soup should be nice and hot and bubbly, and you're going to take out all of the pieces of chicken that you put in there that had bones in them. And once you take those pieces out, you can definitely take any meat that is left on them and add them back into the soup. You don't have to, but those bones add a really good richness to the soup, so you definitely want to cook them in there. Once the bones are out, you are going to strain about a cup of your broth into a bowl. Make sure the broth is nice and hot. You just need enough to kind of fill the bowl. And once you have that broth in the bowl, you're going to add about, probably about a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And this is really to your liking. The more cornstarch you add, the thicker your soup is going to be. The less you add, the thinner it's going to be. So once that is blended really well, you want to add it to the simmering soup mixture. The key is that your soup is already boiling when you add this, because the heat of that, plus the cornstarch, is going to make it nice and thick and bubbly. So then you're going to add salt and pepper to taste, and then just give it a nice good stir, and now you're going to add your dumplings. So I'm just going to do them spoonful by spoonful. You should get probably 5 or 6 dumplings out of this mixture, but you want to make sure they're about the same size so that they cook evenly. If they're not even size, you're going to have some that are overdone and some that are doughy. So once you get your last dumpling in there, you're going to cover the pot and let them cook for about 10 minutes, and voila, they are done. When you take the lid off, make sure you don't take the lid off until they're done, because they really need to steam in there, and they should be kind of bouncy and rubbery. That should be the texture. So once those are done, your chicken and dumpling soup is finished. You can just spoon it into the bowl and serve it as is. It doesn't need anything topped on top of it unless you want to sprinkle some fresh parsley on there. But this is super delicious and very comforting, and it's definitely a crowd-pleasing one-pot meal. I hope you like this. Thank you for watching. See you guys on the next one.